Hello, I'm Neil Hamilton, a professor of law and director of the Agricultural Law Center at Drake University in Des Moines. I want to welcome you today to another installment in our series, Law for Landowners, 10 Things You Should Know. Our topic today are 10 things you should understand about how to use the Legal Guide for Landowners. This is a new book that's been published by the Agricultural Law Center that tries to provide the information that'll help Iowa landowners and those interested in owning land understand how the law applies. The first point to understand is that the legal guide was written to provide landowners a basic set of rules and guidelines to understand about how the law may apply to them as landowners. To get a driver's license in the state, you have to take a test and they provide you with a set of rules. You don't have to take a test to be a landowner, but there are many rules and regulations that can apply to being a landowner, and having an understanding of them can make it much more enjoyable and less risky to be a landowner. Second thing to recognize is that just owning land doesn't make you an expert in how the law might apply. Certainly we all may have a rudimentary understanding about some legal issues. For example, people commonly know that the right-hand rule may apply when dividing fence allocations. But on the other hand, many of the rules and laws that apply to land ownership are much more detailed. My goal in writing the guide was to try to bring together in one place a thorough and comprehensive and understandable discussion of most of the subjects that an Iowa landowner might encounter. The third point to understand is that the guide is organized around a series of key legal subjects. It begins with several chapters about property ownership and the types of property, and then talks about a number of specific subjects. There'll be chapters on fence law and on drainage and water law, and chapters on participating in government farm programs and how you talk within your family about your plans for the use of your property. The fourth point is that the discussion is organized around a consideration of these different laws, identifying the rules that are involved, oftentimes discussing them as they've been interpreted by the Iowa courts. Many of the chapters include lists or sets of questions for you to think about that can help you understand how the law might apply to your situation. Fifth, many of the terms or words that are used in a legal context may be foreign to you or may have a specialized meaning. That's why the book includes a glossary of over 200 different legal terms, trying to explain those terms so that you can understand how they might apply. Reading the book won't make you a lawyer, but it'll be a good first step in understanding a lot of legal terms. Sixth, many of the chapters are also built around a discussion of commonly asked questions, which will provide a factual context for the understanding of how the law might apply. While these questions might not fit your situation exactly, in many cases they should give you a good idea of how the law applies in a very factual, real-life situation. Seventh, to make the materials in the book more accessible and understandable, the Center has also prepared this series of videos, a whole series of them based around this idea of 10 things that you should know. The videos were prepared with support from the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture and the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. The eighth point is to remember that the purpose of the guide is to provide you with a basic understanding of how the law might apply to you, and to provide you with information so you can identify the questions that you might need to ask to another advisor, your lawyer, a banker, a real estate agent. It's important to recognize the purpose of the book isn't to provide or to be a substitute for legal services. Instead, it's to help you understand when you may need to obtain more legal input on your situation. Trying to be your own lawyer can be a risky and expensive way to try to save money. Ninth, if you do need legal advice, there are several options for how you can go about obtaining it. First, most families have a lawyer that they've used for legal matters, and this is the best place to start because this person is probably familiar with your situation. If you don't have a lawyer, you can contact the Iowa State Bar Association. It can provide you information on lawyer referral services. And the Iowa State Bar also has specialized sections or committees of lawyers who specialize in subjects like agricultural law and property law. Iowa State University also has the Center for Agricultural Law and Taxation, which provides extension service like advice and information about legal issues. 10th, land ownership is often a family matter. It's not just an individual decision. So making decisions about how to use land and deciding how and when to transfer it can involve many other people, and you should consider involving other family members in these important discussions about the land. That's why this guide was written not just for people who are now landowners, but also people who may become landowners in the future. For example, your children or your heirs. Helping the people who will also one day become landowners understand how the law might apply to them is another important goal of this guide.